Hello and welcome to another video. We are in kind of late winter but early in the year here in the UK, and temperatures are starting to get pretty bitter. Generally we're okay for temperatures before Christmas, but January, February and beginning of March the temperatures really start to drop. So I thought I'd do a review of one of my favorite pairs of gloves. These are the Hestra Guide Gloves. I've had these for a number of years, probably over 4 years now. You might have seen them in some of my previous videos, particularly the one where I talk about my glove layering system. But I thought I'd take a bit of a more in-depth look at these, just in case they're something that you are looking into. If you're looking for a really good pair of warm gloves for heavy duty work, then these might well be those. If that's what you're interested in, keep watching. I'll see you in just a moment. So, as I said in the intro, I've had these gloves quite a long time. Bought them many years ago as a pair of winter gloves that I could use when out bushcrafting and so on, and they've served me pretty well since. In general, if I'm reviewing an item, I want to make sure that I've used it for a good long time so we can see over a number of years what the longevity is like, because often problems don't become apparent until a couple of years in. So these have had a really good amount of use. Now, I haven't used these for forestry work. I have treated them a bit nicer than that because they are an expensive pair of gloves. But for general bushcraft, forest school and so on, I have used these over time. And you can see, if we zoom in the gloves, you can see that I've used them. I've used them, abused them a little bit. There are holes on the side, but they are still a functional pair of gloves, which is actually pretty good going. The actual work gloves that I use for forestry, I'm lucky if they last half a year, whereas these are still just as supple and as strong as the day that I bought them. Just fantastic pair of gloves. So they are quite thick leather. They have a nice long cuff, so if I pop them on, you can see it helps close that gap where you would normally, with shorter gloves, end up getting a bit of a cold draft, and that means you can bring your sleeves forward and either tuck them underneath or pop them on top. It's just slightly stitched and elasticated at the bottom, so it does give you quite a nice seal right at the base of the wrist. It's thick leather, so I've used these, you can probably tell, for picking up brambles, carting logs around, cutting firewood, taking stuff directly out of the fire, holding cast iron pans, the whole shebang. They come with these loops here for a carabiner, which they supply. I love having my gloves on a clip, because I can clip two of them together, or I can clip them one at a time onto my belt. So I always have a carabiner on my belt, and I'll just clip those onto there. That way, whenever I'm taking gloves off, I'm not losing them, not leaving them lying around and having to go fetch them. So any pair of gloves that doesn't have this, I quickly add one. I do add an eyelet, a couple of rings, but the fact that they're on here and they are really nice, tough hardware, really sewn well in, really well constructed. Another thing to note is that they double, if not triple, stitch the majority of the seams, and they have harder wearing, thicker leather on the areas that are going to receive more wear. So you can see there on the finger tips, around the edges, just where you would expect to have more wear, it is reinforced. These have a wool liner. You can see here, if I which are just velcroed into the top of the glove there. You can pull them out like that. You have a wool mitten. This is really valuable if you've been working hard, if you're outdoors a lot and you get a little bit sweaty. You can actually hang these up to dry separately from the glove, and without the liner you can use the gloves as a standard pair of work gloves. So yes, the things that I really like about them is they are warm. They are incredibly warm. I'm someone who gets really cold. I have long thin fingers. I'm long thin body type. I'm an ectomorph. I in general get cold a lot. So these are just about one of the warmest fingered gloves that I have. Mittens are obviously are warmer than single fingered gloves, but you lose dexterity. Talking about dexterity, these are relatively decent considering how thick they are. You do get a dexterity. You can tie some knots if you're used to using them. They are really handy for holding tools. You can do some knife work with them. In general, they're a good all-round pair of gloves, and I wear them for a lot. But as anyone who's watched my reviews, there's always going to be a trade-off and a drawback. So these are water repellent, they're not waterproof, so if you are pond dipping and stuff, these aren't going to hold up to that. And the other issue I have with them has to do with the liner. So as mentioned before, I filmed a whole video on my glove setup, and I like using liner gloves, particularly when the temperatures really drop far below zero. There are some tasks in bushcraft that just require more manual dexterity. So it's particularly when you're tying knots or working with thin fibers. And for me, particularly when I'm running forest school sessions, I'm always needing to have dexterity at some point in the session, whether it's helping a child open a packet of chips, all the way through to retying knots on shelters, rejigging things, helping out with use of a palm drill, whatever. And so I bought these true to size. So I am a size 10. It's really nice. Hestra are one of those manufacturers that will actually size the gloves accordingly, so you won't just have one size fits none. You will actually have a range of sizes. So these are a perfect fit for my hand, and that means I get that dexterity. But what that means is I can't fit another liner glove underneath this. And the liner glove that is supplied with it is fantastic. It's warm, but it's not something that you can really use for tasks, because as you can see, the fibers are all exposed. So it's just your standard wool glove, and if you get anywhere near brambles, thorns, rough bark, anything like that, you will start pulling at the fibers and you'll start causing problems with it. It just won't stand up to any sort of rigorous use. This is a problem with liner gloves in general, but you don't get that great dexterity because of the padding. So that usually means what I need to do is I need to change gloves all the time. So I'll have this pair of gloves, and then I have a pair of fingerless gloves. I have a pair of those in my pocket, and those I switch out with these. So I'll have these on when I'm doing kind of gross motor skill tasks, say swinging an axe or moving firewood around, hauling logs, all of that. I'll wear these, and then when I'm getting fiddly stuff, I'll take these off, clip them onto my belt, and then change into gloves. That is a bit of a faff, and it is a drawback of these gloves. You could size them up and just have a liner glove in there, but you will start losing that dexterity, and you will have a lot of layers underneath this. Now the opposite is also true. in that if you try and use these during warm weather, they are warm. So they are not the best work gloves for your spring, summer tasks. And when you remove the liner, because the liner is so thick, the liner gloves, you have a rather roomy leather glove. It still works, you still get some dexterity, but there's a lot of wiggle room to move around in. So those are the main objections I have, is that the liner glove system doesn't quite work doesn't quite stand up to tasks. This isn't a fault with the glove, it's just it may not suit your particular need. If you're constantly taking off and on gloves, that's going to become a problem. But if you're wearing gloves for a long period of time, if you're doing very broad scale work, fantastic, really good gloves. Of course, the other thing that you may see as a downside is the price, but like I say, I've had these for, I can't even remember how many years, but if you probably look back over some of our videos and pictures, it's likely to have been more than 4 or 5 years. And all of my other gloves I go through in a year if I really look after them. So these have actually worked out more cost effective per pair because they've lasted 3 times longer. So there you go, these are the Hestra Guide Gloves. Fantastic glove, I think, for colder temperatures, particularly if you have cool hands. There are ones that are designed more for hiking, so if you're hiking and out and about and you're not physically using your hands to handle rough materials, then there are better insulations out there. But for a good pair of natural leather and wool gloves that'll keep you warm during the winter, these are fantastic. So before we go, I just want to say a big thank you to Wellness Woodlands for allowing me to film on their beautiful site. If you are in the market for a beautiful site set just a stone's throw from the wire forest, and admittedly at this time of year you're probably not thinking of camping, but May and the better weather will roll around before you know it, and now's a good time to start planning. So if you want to get a little bit further, but you don't necessarily want to go overseas all the way up to the busy areas like the lakes and peaks, this is a fantastic corner of Shropshire and well worth checking out. So big thank you to them. Do check out their website, I'll leave a link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to make the most of every day, and if you would like to see more of these reviews or have any questions or comments, you can either leave them in the YouTube description or send them over to info@brackenoutdoors.com. Thank you so much, until next time.